So whose butt am I looking at?
What? Excuse me? Well, mine? My butt?
Yeah, your butt.
What do you think of the back piece? First time I've actually ever worn it.
Your back piece? What is that?
It's the Whispers one from the Pact Reformer.
Oh, it's like upgraded or something?
Yeah, it's the top version of it.
Ah, I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, you can upgrade them twice, and then if you get all of them, they give you a Gift of Ascension for one of the rare collections.
Okay, that's pretty
It's
cool.
like one of the little pet projects I've been going on.
Anyway, so.
Such obvious small talk.
Yes, I was just gonna say, full disclosure, everyone. Hey, Wooden Potatoes. Full disclosure, this is a re-recorded intro because we basically recorded the entire video, but then I realized that I didn't actually record the video, only the audio.
Oh dear.
So otherwise, it would just be like a black screen of us talking, or I could redo the intro and then like find some weird footage that I don't know what to put on yet
Weird technical
for the other stuff.
stuffs.
It's going to be a bit of a stranger Boots Bad Builds, but hopefully it's not as bad as all that. But yes, hey Taunted Flail.
Hey!
Also known as Wooden Potatoes. You look like a moron.
Wow. I feel like I look like a Transformer, and this is how I've always wanted to look in Guild Wars 2, so up yours, basically.
I look fantastic.
I'm sure you do.
Look at me. I made this character specifically for this build, as I mentioned previously.
Right, okay, so you're going to show me today a Ranger build.
That's right. For this character named Daze
McDazerson with the sunglasses.
I think that's all I have to say right now for the intro.
Really?
Let's go right into the build.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Well, I look forward to learning about it. Are you basically, you've made it a good, normal build, and this is like going to trick me into saying how trash it is, and I'm just going to look like an idiot?
No, it's pretty trash.
Okay. all right. Okay, well, I'm glad I have your vote of confidence on it.
Yeah, so you're going to be good. Honestly, I like the build.
Can I guess what it is right at the start?
Yeah.
If I was going to make a Boots Bad Builds, and I was on a druid, what I would probably do as World of Enders, I'd sit down and I'd mouse over all the traits, and I'd be like, what's something interesting these traits do that I can build into and compound? And what I probably would end up resolving to do is making a build that uses Grove Runes and takes the Grandmaster Ancient Seeds and runs Entangling Roots and tries to emote people forever.
That is a great guess, and it's completely wrong.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
Sorry, man. Sorry.
All right.
But
because I would have hated you for that build. I'd just like to be clear. Because I hate those.
Actually, I'll give you a better clue. I'll give you a clue about this. Okay, you could get this. Ready?
Okay.
If you remember correctly, my last Ranger Boots Bad Builds, wasn't on this character. It was on my main Ranger, my other Ranger, which I actually don't use very often, so I can't really call it my main
And you
Ranger.
just mentioned it's a good thing that I was an Asura.
Oh, I'm just saying, it was on my other Ranger, which was a Norn and a big lady. And I made this awesome-looking character specifically for this build.
Oh, dude! I think I know what you're doing, and I love this idea, and I did this before the Elite Specializations came out. You're running Technobabble, and you're increasing your Daze stuff with Mesmer runes and stuff.
That's correct. And what is my character's name?
Oh god, I need to put on my glasses. Daisy McDazerson.
That's correct.
I like it. Oh my god, I'm on board. I'm well on board. I like this. Okay, go for it. Teach us.
Yes. So what is really awesome about Rangers in general is they have a specific trait that is pretty powerful.
What is it called again?
Moment of Clarity.
Yeah, it is Moment of Clarity. Good.
Exactly. So, you gain an attack of opportunity for you and your pet on interrupting a foe. So that's pretty good. For 10 seconds after you interrupt a foe, you and your pet on the next attack do 50% extra damage. But, on top of that, daze and stun durations you inflict last 50% longer.
Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun. So that
I really like that trait. That's an example to me of one of the best traits that Arenanet's designed in terms of like the play space it's got. Like, it's totally unique to this class. It's one of those fun things that augments one of the core systems. That's like what I really, really, really enjoy, and it like gives rangers that very special area.
And what's amazing about it is that even though it doesn't show up on the tooltip, Technobabble, which is usually a 3-second daze at 1200 range, is now
Instant cast.
Instant cast, 4.5-second daze at 1200 range.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Super cool.
So what other dazes can you have? That's a good question.
So this druid added more daze stuff, correct?
That is right. So as a druid, you have access to Glyph of
Primal
Equality.
Echoes. Oh, okay.
Glyph of Equality, which is a 24-second insta-cast, cooldown, insta-cast AoE daze for 2 seconds, which is now 3 seconds. It also does a lot of damage, 920 damage on a crit. I'll tell you about it later anyway. This build has it going around 3,700 damage on a crit.
Okay.
So it's an insta-cast, 3-second daze that also breaks stuns.
Your own stuns.
Your own stuns, yeah. So that's pretty good. Only
breaks enemy stuns. I don't know why I felt the need to clarify that.
You daze your enemy, and it also breaks the stun that you just did.
yeah. It's just as purely an interrupt. That's all it does.
Yeah, and let's look into Druid traits right now, because another daze comes from Primal Echoes, which is reduces the recharge of staff skills and daze nearby foes. Another AoE daze on an 8-second cooldown when you swap to staff. Now, it's an 8-second cooldown, so I was toying with the idea of running 2 staffs, double staff.
Yeah, people actually do that in raids when healing. It's pretty much completely unrelated to this at the moment, but it's not totally out of the blue.
Yeah, but it is slightly underpowered, because the staff damage is pretty low. It would be good as a healing thing, yeah, for sure. But I didn't go that direction. I went with a staff greatsword because I like doing damage. Honestly, I like doing damage.
Okay, greatsword. So you probably picked that because that also has a daze?
Yes, greatsword also has a daze, which is I think a 1.5-second daze, but this goes up to 2.25 seconds.
Well, hold on. Was there not something nerfed here? Was there not a thing about Celestial Avatar, since we're talking about dazing and druids?
Oh yeah, well, Celestial Avatar also has a daze. Number 3, Lunar Impact, it has again, a 1.5-second daze, which goes up to 2.25 seconds. And it's a big AoE daze as well.
Yeah.
And it's that got nerfed. I think it used to be a blast finisher.
Is that what the nerf was?
Must be. It doesn't look like it's a blast finisher anymore. Okay. Anyway, that's not a big deal.
But the daze still exists, though.
So
that's how many dazes then, Boots, on your build?
So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dazes, and they are long dazes.
They are.
And on top of that, I have a little pet. Oops, that's the wrong one.
Oh, your pet doesn't inherit the rune, does it? Or the moment of clarity trait?
I'm not so sure. Probably not. But the point is, it's still a 2-second daze from Dazing Screech, which has actually become 3 1-second dazes in the new patch with the Black Moa, and I think something similar with the Pink Moa. So you could have lots of dazes with the Pink and the Black Moa together.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
from the Moa. So that's pretty nice. And I'll go over the traits now because there's some added little bonuses here and there.
All right.
Okay, so like I said, Primal Echoes from the Druid gives you 1.5-second AoE daze. And then I'm using Seed of Life to reduce the recharge of my glyphs.
Which is another daze.
Exactly, so that's the stun break now is 24-second daze instead of 30 seconds. And also I'm also using Glyph of Tides, which isn't a daze, but it's a knockback. Unfortunately, it's not a stun, so it doesn't increase the duration of it, but it'll still, lock people down a little bit more.
Yeah, it will incapacitate them for that little bit longer.
Yeah, it's another AoE incapacitation, which is nice.
Okay.
And then finally, right now I'm using Lingering Light, but I was using Ancient Seeds before, which I think is actually better.
Which again is even more just annoying, stop people moving.
Exactly, so it's basically a 5-second immobilize when you strike your stunned or dazed or knocked down foes, and you're going to be stunning and dazing them quite a bit. And they're going to be down for, unlike the Thief Interrupt build, where they're not actually locked down for any amount of time, they just get interrupted, this one actually locks people down.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to Marksmanship. Okay, so Marksmanship, the minor traits are all centered around Opening Strike, right? So You have opening strike. Your first attack is an opening strike. It has an extra 5 stacks of vulnerability. Your pets also have opening strike, so on your first strikes you stack 10 stacks of vulnerability, and they're critical hits. So I went with something I've always wanted to. The thing about this build is it's things I've wanted to do in other builds, but it's all packed into one now.
So basically, you played with the Daze idea, and because it's mostly just sort of one trait you're messing around with, you've got space to play with a lot of other things too.
Exactly. I always wanted to make an opening strike build. I always wanted to make an insane Ranger Daze build. And I always wanted to do a thing where you didn't need any crit chance, but that didn't matter. So that's what we get to do here, because opening strike always critical hits, and you have Remorseless as your Grandmaster, which is regain opening strike whenever you gain Fury. And opening strike deals more damage. So 25% damage increase on your opening strikes, and basically there's a 0 cooldown on it. Anytime you gain Fury from any source, you get an additional opening strike. And then I'm using Enlargement just to do a good deal of extra damage when you hit below 50% life. Also, it gives you stability, which is always nice.
Alright.
Alright, and then finally, Beast Mastery. And Beast Mastery, in your major trait, I went with two-handed training, because I'm using my Greatsword. And on a 10-second cooldown, I gain Fury when I hit with my Greatsword, basically. So that's regaining opening strike, very nice. It does increase damage on the Greatsword and also reduces the cooldown of the Greatsword skill.
Also, notably, that spear buff, definitely useful.
Very good in spear buff, especially when they release spears in the next expansion.
And did you know that there's a Daze on the spear?
I did not know that. Now I do. It's a shame I never actually go into water.
There you go. I'm completely BS in that. It will be great luck for me if there is a Daze on spear for Ranger, but I genuinely don't know.
But no, also the reduced cooldown on the Greatsword skills is very useful, because it reduces the cooldown of the Daze here to 20 seconds, which means that if you're doing your like regular 10-second swapping back and forth between your staff and your Greatsword, it'll basically be back up if you've swapped from your Greatsword, waited 10 seconds, go to your staff 10 seconds, back to Greatsword.
Yeah, okay. There is no Daze on spear.
Okay, alright.
Just as a
good enough.
Little caveat there.
Good to know.
Okay.
And then I'm using Resounding Timber is my minor, because it reduces the recharge of shouts, and you get regen and swiftness for a good amount of time on them. Because I am using Strength of the Pack as my elite skill, which for 10 seconds gives you Fury every 3 seconds. It's basically what Revenants do, but for 10 seconds. And it also gives you stability and swiftness, and in this case, additional swiftness and regen.
Okay.
And pretty good, very good for this build, because you'll be getting opening strikes every 3 seconds from it, on top of what you get with your Greatsword, and on top of using a Tiger, which has an 8-second cooldown F2
and Fury
ability,
on there too, yeah.
and you get Fury from that as well, and it does a ridiculous amount of damage. And to help that F2 ability land more often, you're using Beastly Warding as your Grandmaster, which taunts foes, which is another interrupt, very nice. Locks them down for 2 seconds, but also they come towards your Tiger, who comes and pounces on them for a ridiculous amount of damage.
Okay.
And that's basically the dealio. I mean, that's the whole trait line, that's everything. I guess I'll move on to equipment to let it all sink in a little bit more.
Alright.
Okay, so
I'm quite curious about the equipment, because you suggested that you have more than just Mesmer runes.
Yes, so Mesmer runes. I originally was using Mesmer runes for this build and testing it out. And it seems like, you know, a no-brainer, right? An extra 33% days duration, right?
Right.
Unfortunately, that does not stack with Moment of Pride.
See, I thought once upon a time it did.
It doesn't.
It doesn't stack.
Nope, I tested it and I'm very unhappy about it.
That's a real shame.
Yeah, I don't know
because that's
why.
what's fun. It's building, you know, more and more things that synergize.
And it would only bring it up to 83% anyway. Like it's still under 100% of what the usual condition duration cap is. It's not a condition, I understand, but it's just kind of annoying, you know. Anyway, so instead of that, I then tried out because I'm going, by the way, since you don't need any crit chance in this build because you're continuously getting Moment of Clarity for your crits. I want pure Valkyrie armor.
Wait, what did you just say? You're getting Moment of Clarity for your crits?
Sorry, not Moment of Clarity, Opening Strike.
Remorseless.
Opening
Opening Strike, right.
So I want pure Valkyrie armor. So that's full power, a bunch of vitality, and a bunch of ferocity.
I kind of like that, to be honest.
Yeah, so with that
Sort of.
and my food, which is another power and ferocity, and then I have what's called Furious Maintenance Oil, which gives me more vitality and ferocity equal to 10% of my vitality. I now have around 2,400 power and 240% crit chance, the crit damage, which is a huge amount.
Okay.
I think it's like near the top you could get in the game.
All right.
Basically.
Well, I can't really check right now because I'm on a trapping Condi gear set.
Okay. All right. And then, so on top of that, because it was Valkyrie stuff, I tried using Superior Runes of the Worm, which aren't that great, but it was kind of fun to use because with them you get more
This
vitality.
is like the Necro, the Reaper style.
I guess,
idea, right?
yeah. You get more vitality, more ferocity, and then 7% of vitality is converted to ferocity, which got this build up to around 245% crit damage. But I was wondering if that extra 5% crit damage is really worth it, and I decided not.
Probably not. Most of those conversion things need to be a lot more potent before they're really fun.
Yeah,
sadly.
so instead, even though it does increase my health to over 30k, right now it's sitting at 28.6k, I instead went with Runes of Evasion.
Runes of Evasion?
Runes of Evasion. So that gives 175 ferocity, which is quite nice.
Okay.
But then when executing a dodge roll, you gain 3 seconds of swiftness, cooldown 10 seconds, and when executing a dodge roll, you gain 3 seconds of fury.
Oh, so you're going with even more fury. I
Even
see.
more opening strikes. Very nice.
Wow.
I was also considering doing altruism runes.
So let me ask you this though: while you're playing, how comfortable do you find it balancing all this fury application?
It's a challenge.
Because you're long beyond the point where that fury is actually of any benefit to you.
Yeah,
itself. Like the evasion rune, you're on you've maxed out your uptime anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole point is you're only picking that you're only doing that dodge roll, and this obviously is to evade damage as well.
Yeah.
To sort of guarantee the crit and get the extra damage and whatever, right?
That's right. It's a little bit of a challenge. I mean, I haven't mastered this build yet. I haven't been playing it for very long, mind you, but it's a bit of a challenge mastering exactly when you should be using...
Sounds fun though, how it's mixed up the playstyle quite a lot from a standard.
It's kind of an interesting playstyle and kind of an interesting way to work things, you know, like balancing when you get fury, how often you get fury, when to, like, just before using what skills, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keeping in range of the tiger as you pop its F2.
Exactly.
Making sure everything's done and exhausted before you go rampage and, you know, just get it permanently for a while.
That's it. Yeah. So just like sort of going ham and doing whatever I want, it feels like a sort of powerful build. But I feel like if I actually played this very intelligently, it could be extremely powerful.
All right, so is that all the core stuff we've talked about? Because I want to ask you how good it is.
Wait, last but not least, my sigils are for my greatsword. I'm using Sigil of Intelligence. So when I swap to greatsword, I'll get 3 automatic crits, so I don't even have to worry about giving myself fury before using some of my original greatsword abilities.
Okay.
So I can just swap to greatsword, use the hilt bash, use maul, and have my crits no matter what.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I have Sigil of Draining on it, which is steal life when interrupting an enemy.
God, you cram packed so much weird stuff in here.
I know, but Draining is such a powerful sigil. On an interrupt, you deal 1,000 damage, and you gain 1,000 life.
Yeah.
And as far as I could tell, I have to look back on my footage, but as far as I could tell, and what I've heard from other people, there is no internal cooldown on it. And
Wiki certainly doesn't state one.
Exactly. So, the way I understand it, I've tested it a few times. I haven't been able to check for sure yet. I have footage that I need to look over right now. But the way I understand it is if you do an AoE daze and interrupt 2 or more people,
it will do it all at once.
It'll deal the 1,000 damage to each of them.
That's so cool,
and
dude.
then maybe you gain 3,000 life, 4,000 life, 5,000 life.
That could my favorite Mesmer build of all time was back when a couple of the traits were bugged, but it was a heavy interrupt build, and you just do disgusting amounts of damage on your interrupts with Cry of Frustration.
Yeah.
I feel like the Sigil of Draining might. Oh, I know it's totally off topic, but I reckon there could be something in that. Oh
Yeah,
my god.
especially with that Daze
A return to form.
mantra.
Right, yeah. I used to run that in PvP. I used to love that build. It was mostly because there was a bug with the way it affected Chaos Storm and it would double up and stuff.
But with
still,
the Daisy mantra as an AoE Daze, and that could be pretty good. So yeah, Sigil of Draining. I could definitely see Interrupt Mesmers being very good with Sigil of Draining right now. And then on my staff, I'm running Sigil of Draining again, because why not? It itself, when swapping to it, has an AoE Daze, so that's pretty good. And then Superior Sigil of Absorption, which is steal a boon when interrupting an enemy. So if that also has no internal cooldown, you could steal up to 5 boons possibly.
So can I say some of the things? I'm trying to let not all fall out of my head.
Okay, last but not least, sometimes instead of Glyph of Tides, because it's only a knockback, even though it's on a short cooldown, it's pretty good. I sometimes try to use Storm Spirit.
Oh my god.
I try to use it. It's not very useful though. Storm Spirit is, it just hits when it's up.
Dude, that's a 4.5 second daze.
It's a 4.5 second daze. The problem, and it's 2,200 damage. So if you crit,
that's a long daze.
It's a long daze and it's a huge amount of damage. It's more than your maul. So if you crit on that, you're going to be doing like 7,000, 8,000 damage. But when you activate it, it takes like a full second to actually use it.
Well, so that's where you run, your Binding Roots.
Right. And the other problem with it is that it's only at 240 AoE. So it's pretty small. It's like,
really close. They gotta be really up in it.
It's like I have to be this close to you, basically.
That's so sad. What have spirits become, man? Spirits should go back to the Guild Wars one time.
Yeah, so that's Storm Spirit. That's why I don't use it right now, because it's just so... It's limited. Powerful, but it's very limited in its effectiveness. Yeah, but go ahead. Tell me exactly everything that's wrong with this build.
Well, a lot of it's fallen out of my head already at this point.
Good. So
the sigils,
right?
all right.
It's over.
Look, you've gone so ham on the sigils, all right. I don't deny that you're probably going to be getting some interrupts, but I feel like you might have just missed a trick here. I want to ask you how badly stability affects this build, because it strikes me that you've not put any forethought into removing boons.
That actually stability affecting this build is not. It's a lot, not nearly as bad as how stability affected the Thief build. Because the Thief Interrupt build, all of its damage came from.
While that may be true, I still assert that that doesn't make this a particularly good build when it comes up against stab.
All the damage from this build, is nothing to do with. It has nothing to do with the interrupts.
But most of you've offensively loaded your sustain, right? You've not opted to put any kind of sustaining options really in anywhere except the fact you've picked some gear with vitality in it, right? So the way you're mostly keeping yourself mitigating damage is by keeping them locked down. So I feel like you're sort of mediocre on the offensive side anyway. So people might just be able to stab up and trash you, tear you down in the short period of time, towards the start of the encounter or while their stabs up, and you've sort of got your pants caught down. Because I mean, yeah, you've got a staff to move away, and yeah, you've got your astral force abilities to help keep yourself topped up a little bit. But I'm a little bit worried. I feel like that's a big thing that happens with a lot of boots bad builds. That they're not rounded. You take them into places like Wild versus Wild here,
so are you saying I need
into
more
PvP.
Cleric runes, cleric gear.
Need more cleric gear, or like active mitigation, or like you're talking about, oh, I'm not running the Storm Spirit, instead I'm running Glyph of Tides. Why don't you put something like Lightning Reflexes on there, so you've got some kind of a stun break, easy access for you.
Glyph of Equality.
Sorry?
Glyph of Equality is a stun break.
All right, or you could run Glyph of Equality. Sure.
No, I already have it on.
Oh, sorry, I see what you're saying. Well, still, it's a single glyph of equality as a stun break. I still don't think constitutes enough.
Yeah, but you also have Strength of the Pack for stability for 10 seconds.
Okay, sure, but this isn't just about getting stunned and knocked down. This is about when you get emoted and heavily condied, and when you get a lot of these, and lightning reflexes that would at least help you there a tiny little bit. I don't know, I just feel like it's very front-loaded, and as soon as stability comes into the picture, I don't know. Also, the heavy focus you have on interrupting stuff, does that work well with the high duration dazes, which are sort of locking people out for long periods of time?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it's in that way, it's very different from the whole concept of the Thief build, because the concept of the Thief build was getting many interrupts as fast as possible. But with this build, you don't care that you get many interrupts. It's more that you want to get those AoE interrupts if you can.
Yeah. I like the idea of the gameplay here, at least on paper, that you're balancing quite closely at all times your Fury procs, as well as balancing how you can chain the dazes into one another.
Exactly.
And the CCs into one another. Like it's like you're striking this cool balance in two different places at once. That means it could go quite deep. But again, I haven't really seen it in gameplay, so I'm not too sure. I don't know, I feel like I would make different sigil decisions.
Like what? Okay, tell me what you would take as a sigil instead.
More standard sigil choices.
Like what? Give me an example.
Like, I don't know, like force or accuracy or things that can actually help you on the defensively.
But why accuracy?
Or hell, even stuff like stacking sigils. If you're going to be running around zerging in World vs. World, you might as well.
I guess, it just feels like it doesn't have the same kind of...
I know you like to build all these individual little things in because it feels like it's going towards the theme of the build, but sometimes even when you do that, just like with the worm rooms, for example, I've got loads of vitality and I want crits.
But
so...
force is so boring.
I agree, it's boring, and I'm not even saying that it's necessarily the best choice. I just think, it's so hard. Look, for the past like 5 or 6 in a row, I haven't seen these in action, so I can only speculate about where I think it is pretty awful. It just feels like, once you had the Daze stuff sorted out, you could have then made a good build. You could have shored up the Ranger stuff with what makes Rangers strong, taken well-known, established, standard, traditional Ranger decisions, and left it there. But then you also went further and decided you wanted to do this crit, fury, balancing act at the same time, where I feel like that wasn't necessary.
Yeah, it's true.
And so now what you've got is Frankenstein's monster of a build.
That's exactly how I would describe this, yes.
And my guess is that Frankenstein's monster, in this case, is not a particularly threatening monster.
Oh, Frankenstein just wants friends, it's true. I have a bad news.
Oh, what's that?
It looks like I didn't press record.
Really?
I've recorded all the voice, I just haven't recorded any of the...
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Kind of?